Hello, and welcome to the Catholic Passage Podcast. My name is John Sandy, and I'm today's host. This podcast aims to pursue the truth, an authentic Catholic life, a deep integration of faith and reason, and a joyful community of families, raising the next generation of the Catholic faithful. Today's guest is Father Nate LaLiberte, who is a Catholic priest from the Archdiocese of St. Paul, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm excited to share our dialogue through this episode, whereby Father Nate and I discuss his background, advanced graduate studies, and work with cross Catholic outreach. We hope you enjoy our conversation and that it might bless you in some way. Hello, everybody. I'm with Father Nathan LaLiberte, who is a friend and former classmate of mine at St. John Vianney, like most of my podcast guests. Hi, Nate. Thanks for being here.
It's good to see you, John. Thanks so much. It's wonderful to see you in your offices. I can see the judge robes right behind you on the Zoom.
Yeah, I keep two, well, really three offices. One's when I'm in Des Moines, one's when I'm not in Des Moines, which is here at the courthouse in Spirit Lake. And then I do have a home office, but I never use my home office because I have four kids under the age of 11. Uh, and especially in the summers, nothing ever gets done at home. And I found that even when they're at school during the day and I work from home or try to, there's dishes, laundry, like there's always something to get done at the house that drives me crazy if like it has to get done before I can go into the office. So I found it's better. I'm more productive if I just leave the house.
Praise God. I'm glad you found the balance.
Yeah. Well, the reason I wanted you on, Nate, is are you okay if I call you Nate? It's
Yeah,
Father
I'm
Nate.
okay. Yes, yes.
Okay.
We have you knew me far before I was Father
Right.
Nate, back in
Yeah.
18-year-old.
But I wanted you on because I think we have some mutual friends, and I heard through the grapevine that you're doing some ministry on the weekends with Cross Catholic Outreach, which I was unfamiliar with, but I Googled it, learned a little bit about it, and I thought, geez, that'd be a great thing for Nate to talk about on the podcast show, like what it is, what he's doing. But even more than that, I think anytime I can give, especially like younger men or women, an opportunity to listen to a priest vocation story, I think that that's somewhat beneficial too, to
Yeah,
understand how grace worked in their life and how they listened to the calling and all of that. So, um, could you start, Nate, just telling us a little bit about where you come from and who you are and that type of thing?
sounds great. No, thank you so much, John. Is it okay if I call you John, not Judge John?
It's always John or
Oh,
John.
okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I come from Lakeville, Minnesota, and from the Archdiocese of St. Paul, Minneapolis. And I entered seminary when I was 18. And so, just like when you came in, we were just fresh out of high school. And my vocation story really is I I kind of came about my faith in a very strange way my senior year of high school. And so, really, my 8 years in seminary were essentially the first two, especially, were conversion 101. And I don't know if you remember, John, when I came in, but I had, spiked red hair and a trench coat and definitely a little bit more alternative gothy like. So I still wear black every day, but, for a different reason. And yeah, so that my seminary time was just, it was beautiful discernment because it was essentially helping me to learn what Christian community was like. What is a what is a regular prayer time like? Even before I entered seminary, I was going to mass maybe twice a month. And I remember the vocation director asking me like, "How's your prayer life?" I'm like, "Well, I pray before most meals, but sometimes I forget, and then I go to mass twice a month." And he's like, "Do you want to grow in your prayer life?" I'm like, "Actually, I'm pretty happy with my prayer life." And God bless him, he still let me in. But so I mean, it was just learning the importance and the value of that. And the fascinating thing about seminary, right, is it's a bunch of big fish and small ponds back home, and they all come together. And you think you know everything, and then you get to seminary and you realize there is a lot about life I don't know about. And so, through 8 years of seminary, I was gradually kind of whittled down, and the Lord spoke very beautifully that He had called me, and it's been quite the ride for the last 14 years of priesthood.
Now, was there like at a particular event though in high school, Nate? Like most high schoolers aren't saying, I'd like to be celibate, give my life to Christ, and like, responded to this radical call, radical lifestyle, frankly.
Mm.
Um, I mean, like, um, that's, I mean, did it come from like an event that occurred? Like, I think of my vocation story a little bit, and it really was mom and dad grounded me, sent me to Steubenville as punishment because I knew I hated the church or hated going to church, hated religion.
Sure.
And it was my punishment for smoking pot, actually, if I recall correctly.
Oh
Uh,
no. You
well,
didn't
in
inhale though.
fairness, it wasn't me, it was the group I was with, but I had concocted a story as to why I wasn't home by curfew because we put the car in the ditch. And I had an elaborate, oh, a deer ran out and we had to swerve to miss the deer. Well, what I didn't know was the kids I was with, their parents got to the truth, called my parents and told them what had happened after I had lied to my parents.
Oh.
And so I was definitely busted. And the punishment doled out was, among other things, you're going to Steubenville Youth Conference. And like I came back and I told my mom, not only was it amazing, but I want to be a priest and like give my life to Jesus Christ. And my mom's like, "What the hell happened in Steubenville?" Um, she was just like, and dad, they thought it was a phase, I think. And then all of a sudden
Yeah,
they realized once I like broke up with my girlfriend and moved to mini St. Paul, it wasn't a phase.
yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, but that was kind of a little bit of like, was there something like that, Nate? Was it like an experience or like, no, from the mom and dad always took me to mass or something? You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty dramatic, my story, and it's actually quite weird. I, so I grew up baptized Catholic, but my parents, when they split up and separated, it was kind of like, I mean, this is just what happens in, any divorce or separation thing, is you just try to maintain as much equilibrium and peace as possible, and you got to pick and choose the battles you fight as parents really well. And so the battle for going to church was not really present. And so I didn't really have a faith background, but I always had a sense that there was more. And so I started to really find world religions fascinating. This is just like the glory of suburban, white kid, is I'm just like, oh, look at all the other cultures. This is so fascinating. So I started Googling stuff. I had, a computer and went to Barnes and Noble for hours and just got fascinated by the occult bookstore sections. And so like kind of the witchcraft and paranormal things and parapsychology and all the dark stuff. And one of my friends in high school got demonically possessed. And we brought her to a Protestant pastor because he led like the youth group thing. And they prayed over her, and it was really scary and weird. And I have no idea what happened to that poor woman. But anyways, the pastor there, I was so scared of all the occult stuff that I just kind of kept going to that non-denominational basement church. And he was vehemently anti-Catholic. And so he would frequently preach about how all Catholicism had ruined the beauty and purity of Christianity. And so I then did exactly what I did with all the occult stuff. I started researching, is that true? Because my grandma was a devout Catholic, and typically, if you come from a divorced or separated home, grandparents are huge. Like they're just like these pillars of stability. And so my grandmother was that for me. So I'm like, here's this devout Catholic, and this guy's talking about how she's nasty. And as I started to do research, John, I just fell in love with it. And my parents said the same thing that your parents said, is I'm like, I'm going to go to seminary. And separately, I told them, because they were separated, and my dad goes, like, hey, Nate, this seems like a lot. Like maybe you should just go to college and it's okay. And then my mom was the same. She's like, Nate, this is really intense. Like, I don't know if this is right for you. And then within 6 months of being there and bringing some of the guys home with me on breaks, they were like, we have never seen you this happy in your life. So that's the bizarre meanderings to seminary.
So it really kind of was like an intellectual thing, though, in some ways. Like,
I mean, besides seeing someone possessed and freaking out,
but I mean, you
it's
could have
very
joined any
experiential.
religion. But I mean, you
Yeah,
could have been a devout Christian or a devout,
correct.
evangelical or whatever. I mean, like the path to the Catholic faith was, yeah, spurred by that in the sense that you knew Satan was real.
Right.
And so God must be if Satan is. But also kind of a pathway of self-study, self-reflection then, which is not uncommon. But I mean,
Right.
that's pretty incredible though, that kind of curiosity is what flamed the fire to begin with.
That's actually why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. I'm getting my master's in counseling right now, Monday through Friday, and working at the university. I had this incredible fascination by the human mind, human behavior, and I've just seen too, like in my ministry as a priest for the last 14 years, like there are times where you'll hit this roadblock where spirituality's been thwarted or it can't progress because there are psychological, emotional issues that are making it very, very difficult for God to speak.
So that's a great segue. So before I got appointed to the Court of Appeals, I was a trial court judge. And one of the things I instituted in my district because we didn't have it was drug court.
Mm,
And the reason is because I often found that the people that would come before me in court that were there for criminal reasons, but not exclusively,
yeah,
I found that more often than not, truly there were some just downright evil people. But
sure.
I could maybe two people, maybe in a well, really in my entire legal career, 20-year career, I can think of maybe two people that I thought were just evil to the core. Like it didn't matter what programming or kind of what it just they
Hmm.
were evil. But for the most part, the people that I encountered in my courtroom, they hurt because they hurt,
Yeah.
right? Like there was trauma there that had never really been dealt with or spoken about, and there was dignity in the trauma, and I don't mean like trauma was good, but what I mean was giving trauma informed care,
Hmm.
recognizing the trauma. That in and of itself is respecting the dignity of somebody because it's not just reducing them to what they did, right? But it's trying to understand the big picture and where they come from, to understand how they got there, right?
Right.
And certainly there's personal responsibility in that. But I would think that there's a lot of parallels there between the criminal justice system understanding addictions, substance
Mhm.
use addictions, whatever that is, but also spiritual well-being,
Yeah.
and helping, not that like, oh, you use religion as a crutch to cope with whatever no, but to really understand who you are, who you're
Mhm.
made to be, and understanding how you navigate that given your unique life circumstances.
Right.
Gosh, I that isn't that the work of a priest? I mean, how do you bring somebody to the sacraments if you
Right.
can't bring them, period?
Yep.
Right?
No, it's very true. And also too, how do you know when people are using the sacraments as a way to not get the help they need in the psychological world? Like, like,
Yeah,
you don't need to go to confession every 3 days. You actually need to get treated for OCD. Like,
right. And guess what? The Eucharist won't cure your bipolar disorder. You
no,
actually need medication for that.
no, that's okay.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's exactly right. Yep, yep, yep. Sounds very similar to your drug court.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And unfortunately society, not that I'm getting on my soapbox, but they think that, building more jail cells will be let's put meth addicts who otherwise are nonviolent or law-abiding, beautiful people. Let's put somebody who's struggling with a methamphetamine addiction in more cages. Like that's not
Right.
going to, actually we found that that worsens the issue.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right.
but people don't think like that. They just think it very black and white, like bad act, consequence. What's there to debate? And addiction's not like that. So
I remember I was running a recovery kind of group for some people, and they were coming from different types of addictions. And my favorite quote was, the guy was sharing. He's like, "Yeah, I thought I could use meth like a normal person, but I realized I couldn't." I'm like, "Oh, buddy, like, nobody uses meth as a normal person."
yeah, the definition of meth is that like there's no moderation.
No, it's a devil's drug, man.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So okay, a little bit about that. So fast forward, you're ordained a priest. You
Yeah.
graduated from SPS, or were ordained by. were you ordained by Archbishop Flynn or was it Ninth?
Ninstead.
Okay. And then,
Then I
served.
went to yeah, so I went to Anoka for 2 years as an associate, and then St. Michael for 2 years as an associate. And it's not atypical when you come out of, high school just totally green that they put you in two assignments for a short part of time just to kind of get experience. And then I was pastor of two merged parishes in Delano called Maximilian Colby. And then the Archbishop asked me to go to the Nativity of Mary in Bloomington. And so both of those had Catholic schools as well. And the one at Nativity was struggling just a little bit. And so he asked me to just kind of come in and help it. And it was a beautiful experience. And then COVID hit, which was fascinating to walk a parish and school through that. And then that literally on 2024 is when I began my master's work, and then also to working on the weekends with the organization you talked about, John, Cross Catholic Outreach.
And so, oh, by the way, plug, because you brought up Maximilian Kolbe and Delano. Triumph of the Heart is a movie that's circulating right now. It's going to be coming out soon. I encourage everybody to go see it. Great. It looks to be a great movie. I haven't seen it, but it looks to be a great movie. But you kind of have a Colby look going on right now. You know, like you just need circular glasses, Nate, and
I
like
know.
and change your last name so it's Polish, and you're
That would be good. I wish I could emulate his holiness as much as his beard, but
Um, but right now, then Monday through Friday, essentially, you're at the University of St. Mary in downtown Minneapolis, right?
correct. Yep. Yeah, there's actually three campuses. So it's based in Winona is where a lot of the undergrad is. And then a lot of the master's level stuff in education, social sciences, nursing, and business are in Minneapolis. And then Rochester has kind of a smattering of those as well.
And so you're getting your master's degree in counseling right now, is that right?
Yep. So God willing, I finish. I have 2 years left, and it would be an LPCC, so licensed to practice clinical counseling.
And then on the weekends, so is it a full-time 3-year program you're doing or part-time?
It is, yeah. So this semester, actually, which begins today, I have 6 classes this semester, and so it's a full ride. And then I do some about 20 hours a week at the university with students and faculty that are here because no one's on campus here permanently. They just come in as commuters.
Got it. And so where do you live then, Nate? Are you in Minneapolis or?
I am in Minneapolis. Yep, I am
Okay.
Minneapolis, about 6 minutes from the university.
Okay. And then do you have an office that's it? Because you provide campus ministry then to the
I do.
student.
Yep. So I'm speaking to you right from the office on campus on what's called LaSalle Hall, and then right above me are classrooms, and right below me are classrooms as well.
Got it. Where is that remote camp or that satellite campus? Is it like on Hennepin?
And no, it's on Park Avenue. So if you've ever been to Minneapolis, it's near Abbott
Oh
Hospital
yeah.
in Minneapolis.
Okay.
So it's actually if you're driving on 94, there's a sign that says like exit for St. Mary's University.
Okay. Got it. Um, and then on the weekends, so that's where I kind of wanted to get into this cross Catholic outreach. Like, what is that, and how did you hear? Like, how did you even come to think about like instead of me doing like a fill-in, mass at Basilica St. Olaf or whatever in the metro, I'd actually like to have an apostolate, so to speak, that you are
Yeah.
focused on the weekends.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking the question, John. So when I was pastor, I mean, when you're looking for coverage, when you're getting for a vacation, Cross Catholic would call all the time, like, hey, we'll cover your parish if we can preach this mission. And so I would let them come in. And I was just so amazed. Like their mission is like 100% Catholic. Like they take no government subsidies. So like even like Catholic Relief Services, they take a ton of government subsidies. So then when some of the administration things happened recently, they lost half their funding.
Mm.
Whereas Cross Catholic lost none of their funding because it's 100% from Catholics in the pews. The other thing that I loved is that 94% of every donation goes right to help the poor. So like there's such low overhead. Whereas a lot of charitable organizations, like you're looking at like 70 to 64% because of the overhead, but Cross is such lower. So I knew it was good. And then also too, like they don't work with government entities overseas as well. So then what that means is if they go into like a corrupt area, like let's say like some of the, politics in Nicaragua and Nigeria and things like this, they're not even swayed by it. It doesn't matter. They can still do the great work. So I saw them doing good stuff for the church, and it wasn't wishy-washy, and they weren't getting into like all of these kind of um, political battles that oftentimes would sink organizations. And they just do the basics, right? So they create clean water, food, they build shelters, they actually do education as well. So like especially in Jamaica and Mexico, to try to break that cycle of poverty. But I mean, the main thing that they're kind of throwing right now all their efforts into is the clean water, especially in areas in Africa. So Zambia is having a horrendous cholera epidemic. And so, I mean, these people, I mean, if you want to talk about like systemic poverty, it's the job of the girls in the town to go get water. So they walk not atypically, like 3 hours to get water, pick it up, bring it back to the village every day. So it's a 6 hour trip. So they're not getting educated. So then you have literally every generation of girls becoming women who just literally get water, have children, and they have no chance of continued education. So just by providing wells, like I mean, here's like, the crazy thing, John, is $98 gives a family of four clean water for life. $70 provides 1,000 meals overseas. So I mean, we forget the proportionality. So to
Mhm.
be able to go and lend your voice to congregations all over the US every weekend to stimulate support for this, it's like the coolest thing ever, John.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And so, like, I did a little research before the interview, but the mission of Cross Catholic Outreach is to mobilize the global church to transform the poor and their communities materially and spiritually for the glory of Jesus Christ. The vision is all Catholics around the world united in overcoming material and spiritual poverty. Here's the thing that I thought was cool about that is so often when we think of poverty, we think of not having clean water, not having food,
Mm.
but it's both. It's
Yeah.
material poverty, but also spiritual poverty.
Hmm.
And arguably, I think Mother Teresa may have had a quote out there at one point, but like the most impoverished country in the world is the United States, actually. Not
Yep.
materially speaking, but spiritually speaking.
And they're
Uh,
the most unhappy. Like
yeah,
statistically, they are some of the most unhappy people. Like depression, what is it called? SSRIs and opioids, like anything to try to get us because we're so miserable, even though we have everything.
yeah, yeah. Isn't that irony jarring? You know, that the country that has everything is the least grateful or is the most unhappy. Um, that's unbelievable. So say that again, $70 for one family of four will
No,
give,
so $70 gives 1,000 meals.
right.
98 US dollars provides a family of four clean water for life.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
I mean,
And so
it
it's,
doesn't take much. And then like I mean, 5 grand almost completes a house.
hmm.
So
And
I
so
mean, like this is crazy.
have you been over seas for this organization, Nate?
So here's the deal. They keep asking me to go with them. I went down to Venezuela, but because I'm at the university Monday through Friday, I can't get away from classes. So like they have a mission in Guatemala that's coming in October, and they're like, "Can you please go?" And I can't. So I mean, like I'm bummed that I can't go there. So I mean, my consolation is just literally going and making sure to get the revenue so that they can do stuff down there.
Right.
But so I mean, just to give you an idea, so like just this past month, I was in Sutherfield, Wisconsin, or Michigan, Detroit Diocese. Then I went to Wimbledon, North Dakota, Fargo Diocese. I'm flying out this coming weekend to Lookout Mountain, Georgia, Atlanta Diocese, and then after that, I'll be in Duluth Diocese at Deer River. So I mean, every weekend is a random spot, but it dovetails beautifully with my studies because if anyone has traveled a lot, you get stuck in airports, you sit and wait a lot, you have the flight time. Um, so it's been awesome. And even the evangelization in the flights, like I was flying back from Fargo and had a fascinating conversation with a medical doctor from Massachusetts. And, he had was looking for faith and wondering how to pray, and it was really cool.
I was just going to ask, are you a cleric that flies with clerics or not? No, no clerics. Because I know that's a debate amongst many within the clerical.
Yeah, fair enough. So it's both and. So welcome to the humanity of the priesthood. So there are missions that I have where I will go and I'll say five masses on the weekend, and I am spent, John. And I know I'm going to be nasty priest for anyone that I talk with. And like those days, I'm like, okay, I got to take the collar. I got to pop the collar out because I just literally want to put my headphones on and go to my quiet place or like zone out
Yeah.
because I'm just fried. And then I got to do studies when I get back too. So I'm like, but there's other times where, you're feeling good and you're like, okay, I'm going to be available to people. But
Yeah.
you got to be judicious because like no one wants to interact with a miserable priest. But I will say,
Yeah.
here's the fascinating thing. Every single time I wear my clerics on the plane, someone will say, "Oh, thank God, there's a priest on the plane. We're not going to crash." And in my mind, I'm thinking, maybe I'm here because I'm going to give you last rights.
Right. Right.
Like,
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 yeah.
why does this
Don't
mean I
don't
won't
count your
crash?
chickens. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Yeah. No, that's fascinating. And you know what though? That also shows you said that's the humanity of the priesthood, but it's also knowing yourself, right? Um, a good priest is one that also understands their limitations.
Yeah.
Uh, that's a good thing. Um, so that people know, because I don't want to forget, you can go to Cross Catholic Outreach to donate by going on their website, which is crosscatholic.org. It's CROSS Catholic, CATHOLIC.org. And well, it talks more about what they are and their ministry and how they help
Mhm.
folks, but then also has an area where you're able to donate if you feel inclined. And um,
And it's a 501(c)(3), so you get a tax break too. Like one of my things when I'm plugging it at the parish, I said there's a QR code you can scan and give by a credit card digitally. So nothing better than giving to the poor and getting points for it in the process.
that's funny. I bet that gets a laugh out of the
It
crowd.
does every time. It kind of
You
breaks it
know
up a
what
little
though?
bit.
I listened to your homilies on YouTube. When I think you sent me a link to one of the parishes you were at. Um, but the other thing that I think is awesome is like you're not like so the homily isn't just about cross Catholic outreach. Like
Right.
your homily is actually about what the gospel readings were
Mhm.
and give insight. That would be fascinating, I think, as a priest to basically travel the country to see different parishes and different cultures and different regions, be able to preach to them, and then kind of get feedback and understand what some of those differences are from because the archdiocese is very typical Minnesotan and, passive aggressive. Like, I don't want to be too general, but like it definitely has a certain sense about it.
Mhm.
Um, where I would imagine Chattanooga, Tennessee is a little bit different flair than what you're getting in the archdiocese. So, um, I would think that'd be life-giving though, as a priest too. Like, because I would think you get into a rut every now and then with the same thing, same people, same parish, even if you're moving every 6 years, right?
So,
Um,
so one of my favorite things, John, is to go into a parish and let's say the lector is terrible, the lights are flickering in the back, the music is off key, the ushers are rude. I get to walk in and I just get to love them well, preach the gospel, advocate for the poor, and then I leave. So I'm like, I don't care about those things. Whereas when I was pastor, I was like tied in knots, like, oh, the servers aren't well trained enough, or like, this lector is mumbling his words. I got to go, and train him again. But now I'm just like, I just go in, love well, and leave. So
yeah.
it is so refreshing, and like to your point too about seeing different dioceses throughout the United States. Um, I I have a pulse on the church in the United States that I think very few priests do because I'm literally just going in for a weekend and seeing it. So I've been doing this for a full year. So imagine every weekend I'm in a different diocese. There's a different feel in different parts of the country. And
Yeah.
yeah, just really, really interesting to see the incarnational reality of the church.
Do you ever get to the point where you're sick though? Like, man, I don't want to go somewhere this weekend, but like you're booked for the next year. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, or are you able to say like, hey, I'd like these 4 weekends to not be scheduled, you know?
Yeah, you can you I have literally 6 weekends of the year that I can request not to travel. And so I try to use those in between breaks, but you can't get out any of the summer ones because that's when priests want coverage the most.
Hmm, yeah.
So I mean there are times where you're just like, oh, this is gonna be brutal, but it's I mean it's just like the classic thing, John, right? Like sometimes you don't want to go, and then the second you get there, you're fine.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like all like the, getting stuff together and going through security and waiting at the airport. But the only times where I'm like, I hate this is when, your flight is delayed, 4 hours and you're just trying to fly home on a Sunday night. And you're like, I just want to go
Yeah.
home.
Right. Yeah.
That's the human experience in general.
Are the profs and like the folks like are you doing remote or is it in person
It's
lectures
in
and stuff?
person. Yeah.
So
No,
like if
it's
you
lectures
miss
in
a
person.
flight like because they cancel, are they pretty understanding of like, hey, he's doing this weekend ministry where he's traveling all across the United States. So do you have class
Mm-mm.
on Monday or do you try to do Tuesday,
No, I have
Wednesday?
class on Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, that's dicey, you know?
Yep. So you just have to hope. And it's
Yeah.
definitely I've talked with the professors. There's only been one that I've missed so far in the last year, because of that.
Okay.
So it's not, proportionally, it's just fine.
Well, and I would imagine when you're getting your graduate level degree, there's like you're not there because mom and dad want you to go to college.
No,
Like there's
it's,
there's a there's a degree of like you're obviously taking this seriously. You wouldn't be doing this if you weren't taking this program seriously. So
yeah, no, that's right.
there's probably like a more mature understanding than like what some of our profs at St. Thomas probably had about our commitment. Remember we took Spanish together?
Oh
And that
gosh,
guy
John,
like had zero patience for our tomfoolery. I don't remember who
I
the prof
know.
was, but um,
I did not. I did not do well in that class, John. I did not.
I don't remember much about it other than I thought because
Were
I
you in
took
that theology class with me that we like went off the rails?
Professor Carvalho.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. By the end, I felt bad for her. She really. I mean,
We were so bad.
we
Oh,
put her through the ringer. Well, yeah, she earned her stripes with us,
I
but
know.
yeah. No, I think, looking back, I loved the education I received at St. Thomas and was so grateful for not just the Catholic studies and philosophy profs. Don't get me wrong, they were amazing. But even like my interdisciplinary professors, like my English prof, I remember she was wonderful. And my conservation biology, I think I took
Hmm.
with a guy who was quirky but fun. I
Was it
like
Chet?
say the last name again?
I know the first name was Chet. That everyone just called him Chet.
Yes. What was his last name though?
Was it like Wilson or something? I don't even know.
Oh,
I just, I
Chester.
just, Chester. It was
Chester?
Chet.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, yeah. And like I remember thinking like I like deer hunting. I'm gonna take this conservation biology class and like and don't get me wrong, it was awesome, but not what I thought it would be. Uh but no, I just thought I had a wonderful experience at St. Thomas and I'm so grateful for everything it provided. So I yeah, no. So, okay, are you going to be done with your master's or are you thinking you want to go like describe that for me? That's kind of my last question because like
Sure.
you can still provide pastoral counseling without a master's degree, although I bet you do it better with a master's degree. But I mean, I guess my question
Yeah.
is like why? Like what do you want to teach in some capacity or do you think it'll help you in your ministry? All of the above.
So, I mean, just the nature of the priesthood, we're at the whims of the archbishop. So, whatever he would like to use the degree for is what he gets to use the degree for. So, I mean, part of it is once you have it, then it's kind of a pure potency thing. But I mean, this past week we had the horrendous shootings at Annunciation in Minneapolis. And again, like no one expected this to happen. And so I've been working with some priests, as well as some of the lay faithful who were either involved directly or have really been experiencing some trauma responses. And to be able to use the skills that I have to be able to support them in a pastoral way, but also with good counseling has been good. And then also, too, working alongside some other counselors who are also kind of triaging to make sure that they have the support they need. And I know their language. So those kind of things have been really beneficial. And I mean, the end game, John, I don't know. I just know that my master's, I'll have throughout this next year classes, and then I have to do 700 hours of supervised counseling, and then after that, I will have graduated the program, and then 2 more years of supervision, and I think I'll have my license. So it if there was a doctorate smattered in there, it'd be another kind of 4 years on top of all that.
Well, I'm sure Archbishop would love that.
I
Take,
doubt
take you away
it.
from, Wyzetta or whatever parish he wants you to go to, because I know everybody's hurting
Mm,
in my diocese in particular. Um, Not a lot of vocations, and given how spread out the dioceses are, um, part of the problem is the model was back in the baby boomer generation when heck, you had three priests at one rectory.
right,
Um, and we've seen you know, that that shift in terms of the numbers. And so how do you figure out where you put the pieces given how rural, at least my diocese in Sioux City is? I mean, it's not uncommon to go 45-minute drive from an hour drive from parish to parish. Well, at least within two or three counties in your archdiocese, Nate, I mean, you can't go 4 or 5 blocks without a parish.
right.
So, that's challenging in a lot of different ways. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you for your time, Father. And
It's so good to see you, John.
yeah,
Judge.
yeah, I appreciate you taking the time, and truly, I really do. The cross Catholic outreach, and I don't know if it's my old age, but it seems that I have more of a zeal for helping the impoverished, materially speaking, than I
Right.
ever did when I was 20, 21, 22. And I think it's just is I got made fun of. I'll end on this story. Base travel baseball right now is like something my son's involved in, and I
Mm.
don't know if you know anything about travel baseball. These bats are like outrageously expensive.
Mm.
We're talking $400 to $500 for
Whoa.
a baseball bat for a 10-year-old, 11-year-old. And like I was like scandalized by this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind spending $50 for a pair of shoes or cleats or whatever, but four or $500 for a bat for one season, maybe two. I mean, that just seems so outrageous. So in any event, my son saved up some money and I agreed to contribute to the fund, and he got a $400 baseball bat. Well, within this, some parents take the position that because the bat is so expensive, only their child can use the bat.
Oh man.
So the other kids can't use the bat. And I said, absolutely not. I said, it's actually not your bat, JR. And he's kind of like, what do you mean? I said, that's God's bat.
I
And
love it.
you could tell it was like a radical paradigm shift for him when I'm like, that is not your possession, my son. That is God's bat. And
I
other
love
children
it.
use God's bat. And all of a sudden you could tell he's like, and I get it, like the other kids may not treat it with as much respect as he would
Hmm.
because it's not their sacrifice or their. And I said, so just explain nicely to them. Don't slam the bat on the ground, try to take care of it, but yeah, you can use it, that type of thing. So,
Good for you, John. I
it's
love that.
but the
Such
funny
good
thing is, the
parenting,
other
man.
parents all make fun of me now because they're like, well, not all the parents, but there are a few parents. If they listen to this podcast, I'll know who they are. Uh, that to make fun of my piety now, they always say, "Oh, that's God's bat. Oh, that's God's car." So anything I have, like, how's God's shirt? That God's shirt looks good on you, John. And I'm kind of like, bafangue. So. Yeah, quite the comedians in Spirit Lake, Iowa. But
I love it. I love
but
it.
I'm so happy to have you, Nate. And
Thanks, John. Good to see you.
like I said, for anybody that's listening, go check out the website. It's crosscatholic.org. Donate if you feel called. It's a great organization, and I don't think we do enough to. I think we're so removed geographically from a lot of these issues that it's easy to forget that there's still issues. And not that you're, quote, doing everything you need to do by throwing some money at something, but it's better than nothing. So if
Mhm.
you feel called to do that, I'd ask that you do that. Thanks so much, Nate. I appreciate you being on the podcast.
Yeah, you're welcome. God bless. Peace.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Catholic Passage Podcast, and we hope that it blesses you. Please check out our show notes for a reflection takeaway, as well as more info on Catholic Passage. We aim to support parents and educators as they pass on the Catholic faith and the way of life to their children and students. To find out more about what we offer, or how you might collaborate with us, visit CatholicPassage.com. Most importantly, you can support us through your prayers. We'll be praying for you. Please pray for us.